The wind rolled across the high desert like a whisper of old spirits, carrying with it stories of honor, betrayal, and ancient promises, but none heavier than the one about to fall upon a poor young rancher named Elias Crowder, a man with nothing but a sunburned back, a stubborn horse, a shack made of old timber, and a heart that always beat louder whenever he saw the giant, Apache woman known as Kalima, the last daughter of the Thunder Sister clan, a woman blessed by her people for her extraordinary height, strength, and wisdom, yet burdened by a cruel destiny that threatened to bind her to a forced marriage, arranged by her tribe's council, in hopes of securing an alliance during a season of drought and danger. Elias knew nothing of politics or alliances, but he knew what it meant to watch someone you secretly love be pushed into a life they didn't choose. For every time he met Kalima's deep black eyes that reflected the mountain storms of her homeland, he saw the silent wounds of a warrior woman, trapped between loyalty to her people and the quiet dream of freedom she never dared voice. And it was on a scorching summer afternoon, one where even the rattlesnakes hid from the heat, that Elias rode into the canyon where the Apache tribe gathered for council, only to find that preparations were already underway for Kalima's marriage to the war chief's nephew, a man infamous for his cruelty, whose ambition dripped from his every word like venom. And Elias stood at the edge of the crowd, dusty hat in hand, heart pounding like a stampede as he watched Kalima's wrists being adorned with ceremonial paint, not in celebration, but in resignation, because though she towered above most men, her strength could not break a tradition that demanded her sacrifice. Elias knew he had no right to intervene. He was an outsider, a poor rancher with debts deeper than water wells, a man who lived alone with only coyotes for company. But when Kalima's eyes lifted and briefly met his, filled with the quiet pain of someone accepting a fate they feared, something inside him snapped like a dry branch under a heavy boot. And with a courage he didn't know he had, Elias pushed through the crowd, shocking the gathered warriors and elders by stepping onto sacred ceremonial ground where no outsider should stand. And before he even realized what he was doing, he raised his voice and declared in shaking but unwavering words that he had come to offer himself as Kalima's suitor, not for real, but as a union already sworn in private and hidden out of respect. A lie so bold and dangerous that even the wind seemed to stop to listen, and the tribe erupted in chaos, warriors grabbing their weapons, elders rising in fury, the war chief's nephew snarling with a rage that could skin a mountain lion. Yet Kalima, oh, Kalima, she stared at Elias with such shock and disbelief that it nearly shattered him, because he had never spoken of love, never dared approach her with anything more than shy glances and stolen conversations at the riverbanks where she came to gather water. And though he was trembling inside, Elias stood tall and continued his lie, saying he had secretly offered her marriage out of love and devotion, claiming she had accepted him in private and that he came now only to honor the truth, before they forced her into another bond against her will. The council demanded proof, voices rising like a dust storm, but Elias, sweating under the weight of their anger, merely turned to Kalima and whispered softly, in a voice only she could hear, "Just follow my lead. I can get you out of this." And in that fragile, terrifying moment, Kalima made a choice that would change both of their lives forever as she rose to her full towering height, lifted her chin, and declared with the power of a thunderclap that Elias spoke truth, that she had chosen him long before this day. And the moment the words left her mouth, a silence fell so heavy it felt like the earth itself held its breath, for no one expected the giant sister of the ThunderClan to stand with a poor rancher. No one imagined she'd defy tradition, for a man with nothing to offer but sincerity and courage. But the deception, this dangerous, wild plan that neither had spoken of even in dreams, ignited a storm within the tribe, elders arguing whether this secret union was valid, the war chief furious that his political marriage had been undone, and the nephew vowing to spill Elias's blood before the next sunrise. Yet Kalima stepped forward like a mountain defending the valley and placed her massive hand upon Elias's shoulder, a gesture so protective and intimate it sent ripples of shock across the crowd. And she declared that if anyone wished to challenge her choice, they must challenge her strength, her honor, and her right as a Thunder Sister to choose her own path. The crowd trembled, for Kaleema was known, not only for her size, standing nearly a head and a half above the tallest warrior, but for her unmatched skill with spear and bow. Yet Elias felt guilt rising in his throat because he had thrown her into a battle she didn't ask for, into a lie that could cost them both their lives. But just when he opened his mouth to offer to withdraw, Kaleema whispered to him without moving her lips, "Do not falter now. You gave me a chance I never had." And those words alone gave him strength he didn't know he possessed. As the sun bled into the horizon, the council announced that the matter would be settled at sunrise, through the ancient rite of intent, where Kaleema and Elias would have to prove the truth of their claimed union by surviving the tribes. Trials designed to test devotion, trust, and unity between two people bound by marriage. And as the crowd dispersed, Kaleema walked beside Elias in silence, her shadow stretching across his small frame like a guardian spirit, until they reached the edge of the canyon where she finally spoke, her voice low and trembling with emotion she had suppressed for years, asking him why he risked his life for her when he owed her nothing. And Elias, staring at the glow of the dying sun, admitted that he couldn't stand by and watch her be taken by a man she feared, that he didn't care if he died for stepping into tribal matters, because the truth was simple. He had loved her quietly from the moment he saw her lift a fallen horse with her bare hands to save it from drowning, loved her strength, her heart, her spirit, and even if she never felt the same, he couldn't allow her to be caged. Tears glimmered in Kaleema's eyes, something no one had ever seen from the warrior giantess, and she told him that though she did not yet know what her heart felt, she knew one truth: no one has ever stood for me the way you just did. And she vowed that she would protect him through the trials, no matter the cost. That night they sat by the fire, planning their survival. But beneath the plans and whispered strategies was a new bond forming. Fragile yet powerful, the bond of two souls thrown together by desperation but connected by something deeper, something dangerous, something the tribe would fear if they sensed it growing. And as the stars shimmered above them, painting the desert sky with ancient Apache stories, Elias and Kaleema prepared for a dawn that would decide their fate, knowing that the lie they told might soon become a truth neither of them could deny. And as they drifted into uneasy rest, the shadows of jealous warriors gathered in the darkness, whispering plans to sabotage them before sunrise, making it clear that the trials would not be fair, that the enemy they now shared would do anything, absolutely anything, to tear them apart before their bond even had a chance to bloom.